how did the Synod go? This Synod was the most ridiculous thing. We've talked about this all week. But there's, standing out here in front of under the colonnade, in front of the basilica, you can't help but wonder, are they serious, these guys, Francis and company, the Synod people, the space people, the journey, the pathways, and all this nonsense, mission. I mean, all week long they're talking about this stuff, and you just can't believe it. You can't believe they're serious. When you think about what's going on in the world right now, you got world war everywhere, you've got poverty, you've got economic collapse, it's just abortion, the dissolution of marriage, Christian marriage, and they're babbling away in here with all these little slogans. And you really wonder, do they understand, compared to what the church used to be, compared to what the Catholic religion was when it inspired this place? When I was a kid, my father fought in World War II, and he used to talk about, after the war was over, the Allies marched into Rome, and he had been fighting for 3.5 years in Tunisia and Northern Africa and Italy. And he used to describe to us, his children, coming into Rome, and Papa Pacelli standing up on the balcony, on the loggia, blessing all the troops as they came in. It was a supremely Catholic moment. And I just wonder if the people doing the Synod, the people in charge of these buildings now, do they realize how irrelevant they are compared to what built all this, compared to what the Catholic Church used to be? And obviously they don't. So I think, actually, when they start using these little self-help slogans, and they start playing the role of life coach or weathermen, scientists, they somehow know about global warming, God knows how, they know nothing about anything else in the world. And you start thinking, okay, I think the world's got their number. And this is, this is the last night that we're going to be in Rome. I'm looking forward to going home because this has just been insane. But you start realizing that people actually, I truly believe this, they see through it. They're not actually going along with this. A little guy like Jimmy Martin must be, he's really impressed with himself. But what he doesn't know is that nobody actually cares. No one actually cares what happened here this week. So they take themselves very seriously. They have synodal conversations and everything's on the table. And they care so much about people on the peripheries and the poor. But when you come to Rome and you start walking around town like this, and you see, folks like this that are lying right under the colonnade, these poor people. Francis always talking about the poor and the peripheries. Well, hey, Francis, what about the peripheries right here? Right here in front of the basilica, right in your own town. What about these folks? I mean, the Vatican can't even find a way to clean this up, to give these people, get them off the streets. So it's all stuff and nonsense. It's all slogans, sloganeering constantly, feel-good messaging. I'm not sure who it appeals to, other than maybe the viewers of The View and Oprah Winfrey fans. I'm not sure who actually buys any of this. And so that's kind of, I guess, as we wind this thing up and we get out of here finally, I think that's the good news. Nobody cares. They like to talk about sustainability. They talk about the sustainable developments of the development goals of the United Nations. None of this, nothing that happened this week is sustainable. Because there's nothing happening. There's no gravitas. There's no seriousness to any of it. I'm going to get hit by a street sweeper here in a minute. That'd be all right. It cannot possibly sustain itself because it literally is a bunch of stuff and nonsense. And you say, look at this. This is ours. This is Christendom. Christendom built this. Do you think anything that Blaise Supich is talking about, or Jimmy Martin, or Pope Francis, is ever going to inspire anything like this? Ever? In a million years? Of course not. They got absolutely nothing. And I think that's the message as we come out now and prepare for synodal journey to 2024. We are going to become, then, their wake-up screaming nightmare. Faithful Catholics all over the world, because they have jumped the shark so hard that absolutely nobody takes them seriously, except for themselves. All weekend long, we're sitting over there in the Vatican, in La Stampa, the Sala Stampa press office, listening to them, patting themselves on the back because they got on those little round tables that everybody saw. They had the little breakout sessions, the little small groups, and they discussed things. Well, there was nothing actually important being discussed there. They were just congratulating themselves because of the fact that they were discussing things that in the history of Christianity had never been discussed, like the blessing of gay unions, sins that cry to heaven for vengeance. That's what they mean when they talk about communion for all. They're not talking about sacramental communion. They're talking about communion, bringing everybody in, no matter what your sins are, no matter if you're Catholic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what religion you are. So it's not sacramental community, it's the community, it's bringing everybody, the brotherhood of man is what they're talking about. But they think they can somehow pull this off. While the world is pitched in World War once again, they are irrelevant, they have nothing to say, they tweet out things against the wars or whatever. Nobody pays any attention, you see? So I think that's the big takeaway. That as they jump the shark so horribly, as they become so incredibly irrelevant, more and more people are saying, what are they trying to destroy? What exactly is it that they're trying to destroy? What they're trying to destroy is the thing that built this. So as that happens, you find more and more people. I'm telling you, absolutely this week, we were talking to people, and powerful people in high positions, people like cardinals who were at this synod, like Cardinal Muller. And he's feeling the same way as we are. What are they talking about? What's going on here? So obviously, if everybody from cardinals of the Catholic Church down to people like us, little people like us, are looking at this thing as absolute nonsense, it has no sustainability. And there's going to be more and more outrage throughout the world about what they're doing. And here's the other problem. What built this thing, you can see saints and popes all the way around the colonnade. These were martyrs. They went out and died for the faith. People are still packing this city to see the martyrs, to see where the martyrs died in the Colosseum, to talk and learn about who these people are in these statues from a long time ago. They're coming here because of Christianity and its authentic and traditional understanding. That's what brings people here. Not the Paul VI audience hall, which is like a serpent. That's the new thing that they added to the architecture around here. They're coming here for the faith that built this. That eventually, as people begin to realize what the world's going to look like without Christianity, I think many, many more people are going to start realizing that we do have to go back to the faith that built all of this. And so that's what I mean about we really are their nightmare. We're not going to give up. Now we see it clearly. Now we understand what Vatican II is all about. Now we understand the Catacombs Pact and everything they're trying to do. Trash the church, flatten the church, so that there is no Catholic Church standing in the way of the New World Order. That's what they want to do. That's what they're trying to do. It's not going to work. It simply isn't going to work. And you know why it's not going to work? Why it's not going to work? Because what built this is faith, is religion, is Christianity, and what they are politicians. They're absolute politicians, every one of them. And you know what? They're pretty inept politicians at that. They're lame politicians. And so they don't have it. They don't have what it takes. They think they do, but you know what they're doing? The only authority they have comes in what they're wearing. So they're all wearing their robes. Francis wearing his white, because he's trading, he's dining out on 2,000 years of tradition and history here as he tries to tear it all down. So at the end of the day, faith is going to beat politics. Politics is temporary. Nobody's buying Francis's new religion of climate change and equity and inclusion for all. So I think that's the thing to remember. That in the beginning, it was 12 apostles, it was simple fishermen, it was simple people, regular people like us, who believed in Jesus Christ, who saw him crucified, saw him rise from the dead, died in the Colosseum for the Christian faith, and then went on because of that example of the little people. That example inspired the greatest civilization that the world has ever known. And that civilization is going to come back, and that faith is powerful enough to move mountains and change everything. So there's nothing happening, whether it's World Economic Forum, United Nations, Francis, Team Francis here, nothing here can compare to what that was, that 2,000 years ago inspired everything that we see here carved in stone, the Christian faith. They cannot compete with it. So I would say for people back home watching this synod unfold and wondering and maybe being a little afraid, frightened, concerned about what's going to happen to the church, remember this. We were with these guys for the past 10 days, and I can promise you, they've got nothing, absolutely nothing, but fluffy words and slogans. It's not going to sustain itself. So the answer, of course, is the same. Whatever Francis does, whatever the Synod does, it doesn't change anything for us. As Catholics, Christians who know the faith, who are catechized, who understand what we have to do, they can't touch that. They can't touch it. And while we get stronger in the faith, while we get stronger going to the traditional Latin Mass and everything else, they are going to get weaker. And we saw it this week. We saw cardinals and bishops right here in this town turning against this Pollyanna, Mr. Rogers neighborhood, ridiculous stunt that they call the Synod on Synodality. It absolutely is turning a lot of people off. So, keep on praying, keep on doing what you're doing. As I always say, people say, well, you can't do anything about it. It's too powerful. There's too much going on here. Obviously, in their effort to crush the traditional Latin Mass, Pope Francis trying to cancel the traditional Latin Mass of Traditionis Custodes, we have absolute proof that what they fear more than anything else in the world right now is you, is me, is traditional Catholicism, the old faith of our fathers. That's the thing for which they have no answer. That's the thing, again, that built everything you see behind me, right? Throughout the whole world. So we just keep the faith and we wait until this ridiculous sideshow called the Synodal Church falls flat on its face and becomes a forgotten footnote in history. Just an embarrassing little period where the Catholic Church in her human element really lost her way. That's what's happening. This week we saw it play out in spades. The Church has lost its way. It's in the hands of little men who are going to fail. So keep the faith, friends. Keep praying your rosary. Keep going to the Latin Mass. And let's just wait until we come and take these buildings back. And by we, I mean Christians. Authentic, true Catholics will, in time, get our buildings back. We've kept the faith. Now it's time to move in and take our buildings back. Michael Matt for Remnant TV. Thanks very much for listening. God bless you all. We'll see you soon.